Hey guys, my name is Jirong. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be covering everything you need to know about the SAT. For a little bit of context, I'm currently a junior in high school, and I took the SAT last December. Now, I did get a score of 1420, which may not seem like a very high score to you guys, but during my time of studying, I figured out what works and what doesn't work. And so in this video, I'll be talking about the general structure of the SAT, what resources to look at and what resources to avoid. I will also be talking about what you can expect on test day and what you should do after you get your SAT score.
I also want to mention that because this is my first YouTube video, it isn't perfect, and so I am planning on creating a refined version of this video in the summer after I retake the SAT in June. But I would still recommend watching this video all the way till the end. Anyways, back to the video.
If you wish to do so, you can skip through the video with time skips I will be linking in the description below. Speaking of the description, I will also be linking several videos and also other resources that will be beneficial for your preparations towards studying for the SAT. And so let's get started with the video. The digital SAT is a new version of the SAT where you take the test through a computer through the Bluebook app instead of the traditional paper pen exam. In my opinion, the digital SAT is much easier than the regular paper exam. The total test time will be 2 hours and 14 minutes, and you will have to answer 98 questions within that time. The test is split into 4 modules in total. You will have 2 modules for English and 2 modules for math. Both reading modules are 32 minutes long, and you will have to answer 27 questions in each. In math, you have more time and less questions as you have 35 minutes to answer 22 questions. And so that totals up to 54 questions for reading and 44 questions for math. Note that if you have special accommodations, you will have more extra time. The major thing that separates the digital SAT from the regular SAT is that the digital SAT is adaptive, but it's not in the way that you think. Unlike a fully adaptive test where each individual question changes after your answer from the previous question, the SAT changes only by modules. So you have 2 modules for each of your subjects, and the first module for each individual subject will be quote-unquote easy. And however you do on that easy module for each of your subjects will determine if you get an easier version or a harder version of module 2. So if you get the easy version, your score actually caps out and you can't get the maximum score of 800. Now if you get the harder module, you have a chance of reaching the maximum score of 800. Now if you're aiming for a 1500 or above, you want to get every single question on module 1 for both subjects correct. So in terms of scoring, College Board doesn't actually go into the specifics of how your test is actually scored. However, it is known that the questions are scored based on their difficulty. So this means that if you were to get an easy question wrong, you would lose more points compared to if you were to get a hard question wrong. There are also 8 random pretest questions that are scattered throughout your test, so 2 for each module. And basically, those questions don't have any effect on your test at all. Those are just questions for the College Board to look at and basically test you on to see if they want to implement it into future tests. So you're not actually informed which questions are pretest questions, so just treat every single question as if it counted towards your actual score. In the SAT, you'll be tested on 8 concepts in total. For reading and writing, you will be tested on the following: craft and structure, information and ideas, standard English conventions, and expression of ideas. For math, you will be tested on algebra, advanced math, problem solving and data analysis, and finally, geometry and trigonometry. Now the questions that I see always commonly asked is, when should I start studying for the SAT? When should I take the actual test? How do I even study for the SAT? Most people start studying during the junior year, but I would definitely recommend starting from your sophomore year. The entire English section is just filled with stuff that you've already been exposed to, and for the math section, that only goes up to Algebra 2 with some pre-calc concepts sprinkled in. This means that if you're already done with Algebra 2, or if you're taking the course right now, you should definitely think about studying for the SAT. And in sophomore year compared to your junior year, you're only going to have 1 to 2 APs compared to your junior year when you're going to have more than 4 APs. And so if you're a sophomore or even a freshman watching this video right now, I would highly recommend thinking about whether you want to study for the SAT or not. Now when you're deciding what month you want to take the SAT, I would highly recommend just taking it whenever you're actually ready. But be sure to schedule your SAT 3 months ahead of the time, as you want to have the ability to choose a location that's close to you, and you want to also give yourself time to prepare for the SAT. Because the worst thing that you can do when you're taking the SAT is 1, not be ready for the actual test, and 2, have to travel an hour or 2 just to get to your testing location. So be sure to schedule your SAT ahead of time so you can get your desired location, and you also set a personal deadline for yourself to study. Now, there are some months that I would 100% recommend taking your SAT on, and there are some months that I would 100% recommend avoiding. June, August, September, and October are the months that I would recommend. This is because you have the entire summer and even the start of the school year to study for the SAT. And the more time you have to study, the higher chance you have of getting your dream score. On the other hand, I would recommend avoiding May, November, and December. I would avoid May because it overlaps with your AP testing, which gives you no time to study for the SAT at all. I would recommend avoiding November and December only because it's super competitive. It's the last chance for seniors to take the SAT, and these 2 months typically have the hardest tests. One thing that I want to emphasize, however, is that as long as you yourself feel that you're ready to take the SAT, it doesn't matter what month you take it. And the last thing I want to cover is how many months you should give yourself to study for the SAT. I would recommend giving yourself 3 to 6 months to study for the SAT, and I wouldn't go above 6 months as I feel like 6 months is more than enough time to study. I always see people buying SAT prep courses and using it as their main way of studying. Don't do this. You'll only spend ridiculous amounts of money and you'll learn information that you could have otherwise learned from free resources. Instead of prep courses, use these following resources. Khan Academy. It offers you free SAT prep and it teaches you all the topics that you need to know on the SAT. Bluebook. This is probably the most important part of your SAT prep, and I'll talk about it later in the video, but for now, all you need to know is that it has official practice tests designed by College Board. College Board Question Bank. If you want additional practice using official questions from College Board, the College Board Question Bank is your best bet. It has hundreds of questions that you can practice from, and it's also a very good resource to familiarize yourself with the questions, as it tells you specifically the topic, skill, and the difficulty level of each of the questions. Princeton Review. Although it's debatable, if you have like 20-ish bucks laying around, I would recommend buying the Premium Review Prep Book. It explains each of the tested topics on the SAT, and it also provides you with more practice tests to help you prepare. Now let's go back to Bluebook and I'll explain to you how to actually properly utilize it. The whole point of Bluebook is to be able to familiarize yourself with the actual test. You want to be able to instantly recognize each of the unique question types and be able to know how to solve them in a matter of seconds. In the past, there were 6 practice tests in total, but recently College Board has changed things around. They removed practice tests 1 to 3 and instead added 4 new practice tests, which are 8 through 10. Practice tests 4 to 7 are exactly like the SAT. They'll have the same structure and everything, and the order of the question types are all the same. Practice tests 8 through 10, however, are mixed tests, and they're just a bunch of mixed questions combined into one singular test. Unlike 4 to 7, these ones don't follow the exact structure of the SAT. With all this info in mind, I would recommend taking practice test 4 first. Use it as a way to see where you're at in terms of scoring, and make sure you review all the questions you get wrong so that you know where to work on first. However, don't lose motivation if you end up scoring low. You'll be able to increase your score quickly over time as long as you put in the effort and time to study. With your remaining practice tests, make sure you spread them out evenly based on how long you have until your SAT. You can spread them out however way you like, but just don't do more than 1 to 2 practice tests per week as it'll lead to burnout. Additionally, because practice tests 8 through 10 are basically just sets of random practice questions, I would use them to familiarize yourself with the question types on the SAT. On the other hand, I would use practice tests 4 to 7 to familiarize yourself with the structure and the question order on the SAT. The SAT does follow a specific question pattern with every single test, so it is important that you know the structure. If it works better for you, you can alternate between the structured tests and the mixed tests. After you finish each of your practice tests, review back on all the questions, and not just the incorrect ones, but also what you got correct. Reflect back on what you did good and what you did bad, and familiarize yourself with each of the question types. Especially for the math sections, learn and practice how to use Desmos. It's probably the most useful tool that the SAT could ever give you. I've seen people go from having scores of 600 or even 500 on the math section to getting scores of 700 or even 800 from just learning how to use Desmos. You're also allowed to bring a graphing calculator so long as it's one of the calculators that are approved by College Board. And finally, here are the YouTube videos and channels that I would recommend watching to help you study for the SAT. For the math section, I would recommend watching Learn SAT Math. He's got a general math guide and also a Desmos guide. For the English section, I would recommend Dylan Shaughnessy's SAT. He's got a full English guide and he also has walkthroughs from the old practice tests. Now if you need a review on grammar, which I definitely did, I would recommend this video from Rich Dad Giant. Finally, I would recommend Hayden Rodea SAT. He's got guides and walkthroughs, and I would especially recommend watching his walkthroughs as it'll help you understand how to tackle each of the question types. These videos will be linked in the description, and I'll have all the other resources that I mentioned earlier in this video in the description as well.
I also want to mention that the effectiveness of these study resources and YouTube videos depends from person to person. So I would highly recommend looking through every YouTuber, trying all the study resources, and just seeing what works best for you.
Now before your testing date, I would recommend you have all the materials ready to bring on that day. College Board has a list of materials that you need to bring on test day, and I'll be linking that in the description below, so make sure you go check that out. Additionally, if you choose to do so, you can also bring a mouse and a mousepad with you. I would recommend this if you're more used to using a mouse than a trackpad. Also, make sure you get enough sleep. This is the most important thing to do right before your test day. Don't stay up all night scrolling on your phone, texting or whatever. Don't even fit in an extra practice test right before. Just go to sleep early and feel refreshed and be ready to go on the very next day. Now on test day, there's not really much that you need to do. Just go sign in, chill out for a little bit, and just get ready to take the test. Just get to your testing location on time, and if possible, get there a little bit early. Your SAT score is typically available after a couple of weeks. College Board will inform you when your SAT score comes out, so you can expect it anytime during that day. Now let's talk about what a good score even is. Now obviously, scoring a 1500 or above is everyone's dream score. It's what places you among the top competitors, and it's an ideal score for Ivy Leagues. However, with many colleges now making standardized testing mandatory, the expectation drops to around the high 1400s. Additionally, there are other parts of your application that can definitely boost your overall portfolio. Getting a good SAT score isn't just the only thing that you need to get into a good college. In fact, there are other ways that you can get into a good college without even getting a good SAT score. So don't worry too much if you didn't get the score that you wanted. In fact, if you didn't get the score that you wanted, you can take the SAT again. It is recommended to retake the SAT 2 to 3 times. Now this is because of something called super scoring, which allows you to take the highest reading score out of all your attempts, your highest math score out of all your attempts, and combine the two scores together to get a super score.
Now, it's important to note that although a majority of schools accept super scores, not all schools do. So I'll be linking the list in the description below.
Now that you have reached the end of this video, I would recommend going back and checking out the channels and videos that I recommended earlier. Watch them, take notes, and really understand how the SAT works. After you have finished all those videos, I would recommend using the resources that I linked earlier. Go on to Khan Academy, Bluebook, the question bank, use all of that to help you prepare for the test. Good luck, and I hope you do good on the SAT.